You are always there. The late night texts, the emotional support, the ride or die loyalty. And somewhere along the line, he stopped appreciating it. He stopped appreciating you. But let me tell you something. He doesn't realize it yet, but he made the biggest mistake of his life. You see, a man will often only understand your value in your absence. He won't feel your worth when you're always available, explaining yourself, waiting for him to come around. No, he feels it when you go quiet, when you walk away without drama, when your silence is louder than your love ever was. This video isn't about games. It's not about manipulation. It's about stepping into your power and letting him sit in the emptiness he created. You're done begging. You're done proving. You're done handing over your heart like he's the prize. Because here's the truth. When you stop showing up for someone who took you for granted, everything changes. He starts wondering why you haven't called. He checks your stories just to see what you're doing. And suddenly the woman he thought would always be there is a mystery. That's where your power lives. Not in chasing him, but in making him chase the version of you that no longer waits around. So if you're ready to flip the script and make him regret every time he made you feel small, keep watching, because by the end of this video, he won't be able to stop thinking about you. Let's begin. Pulling back isn't about playing it cool. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about finally honoring yourself enough to stop overextending your energy. It's when you realize that your love is a gift, not a guarantee. And if someone doesn't treat it like something rare, you stop handing it out so freely. The moment you pull back, everything shifts. You're no longer the woman sending long texts trying to explain how you feel. You're no longer anxiously overanalyzing his silences or trying to decode his mixed signals. Instead, you become still, but powerful. Quiet, but unforgettable. What most women don't realize is that emotional detachment doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It makes you magnetic. Men feel the absence of energy that once came effortlessly from you. The calls, the validation, the check-ins suddenly gone. And that space, that void, it becomes loud in his world. He may not say anything at first. He may try to act unbothered. But inside he's wondering, why isn't she chasing me? Why did she stop trying? Did I push her too far? Yes, he did. And now, your silence speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Pulling back with confidence means you know what you bring to the table, and you're no longer willing to beg someone to sit with you. It means you don't need to announce your boundaries with a dramatic speech. You just move different. You answer slower, you stop initiating, you pour into yourself. And most of all, you stop making him the center of your emotional universe. Here's the secret. The more grounded and secure you are in your decision to step back, the more he feels the distance. Not just physically, but energetically. And that's where the regret begins. Confidence doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers through your silence, through your peace, through the calm that says, I've chosen myself, and that choice is final, unless you show me something real. And just like that, the woman he once took for granted becomes the woman he can't stop thinking about. Let him wonder. Let him chase. You're not lost. You just remembered who you are. Silence is one of the most powerful moves you can make when a man starts taking you for granted. It's not revenge. It's not bitterness. It's clarity. When you stop explaining yourself, stop justifying your emotions, stop chasing a connection that feels one-sided, he starts to feel the shift. At first, he might convince himself that you're just busy. Maybe you're taking a break. Maybe you'll come around like you always have. But as the silence stretches, so does his anxiety. And that's when the questions begin. Did she move on? Is she over me? Why isn't she texting me back? Who is she talking to? You see, men are wired to respond to space. When you were always available, always reaching out, always giving, there was no mystery. No urgency. He knew you'd be there, but silence. That creates a vacuum, and in that vacuum, his mind starts filling in the blanks. The truth is, most men don't process emotions in real time. They process them in your absence. When you stop showing up, he finally starts seeing all the ways you were showing up before, and the silence becomes deafening, not because you're punishing him, but because you're no longer feeding the connection he took for granted. That's when he starts watching your stories but not saying anything. That's when the late night hey texts come. That's when he starts testing the waters, liking old pictures, asking mutual friends about you, circling back to see if he still has access. But what he's really doing is trying to solve the mystery your silence created, your lack of reaction. That's what confuses him. Because in his mind, you were emotionally invested, you used to care, and now you're unbothered, distant, unavailable. That change triggers something deep. It challenges his ego, his assumptions, and his control. And here's the secret he'll never admit. The moment you went silent is the moment he started listening. Listening to the echoes of your absence. Listening to all the things you used to say. Replaying the moments he dismissed, minimized, or ignored. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. And the longer it lasts, the more powerful you become in his mind. Let him sit with it. Let him question everything. That's where the regret begins. Men process doubt and regret very differently than women do. Where you might feel the sting immediately and begin healing, a man often doesn't realize what he lost until much later, when the silence gets real, when you no longer show up, and when the version of you that gave endlessly disappears. At first, when a woman pulls back, many men don't react. Why? Because they assume she'll come back. They assume the door will always be open. He tells himself you're just upset, that you'll text eventually, that you need time, but not that you're done. That denial is his comfort zone. But here's where doubt begins to creep in. When the days stretch into weeks, when your energy shifts completely, and when your glow up becomes impossible to ignore, suddenly he's not so sure anymore. He's rereading your last texts. He's scrolling through your photos. And for the first time in a long time, he's thinking. Men aren't taught to reflect emotionally right away. They're often conditioned to move on, distract themselves, or pretend it doesn't hurt. But the truth is, the more they suppress, the harder it hits later. And that's exactly what happens. Regret builds in silence. It doesn't explode. It sinks in slowly through small reminders that he lost something real. Maybe it's seeing you laughing in someone else's story. Maybe it's walking past a place you used to go together. Or maybe it's just lying awake one night, realizing your name hasn't popped up on his phone in far too long. That's when he starts to feel the doubt, not just about where you are, but about who he is without you. Did I mess this up? Was she really the one? Why didn't I appreciate her when I had her? These thoughts don't come because he suddenly became more emotionally mature. They come because he's finally facing a version of reality where you no longer revolve around him. And that's jarring, especially if he thought he had the upper hand. The regret doesn't always show up in grand gestures. Sometimes it's subtle, a text out of nowhere, a random like, a just checking in. Don't mistake those moments for love. They're often fueled by panic, fear, and the sting of losing access to someone who made him feel safe, admired, or important. The hardest pill for him to swallow is this: you've changed. You're no longer trying to prove your worth, and the version of you he's starting to regret losing, she no longer exists in the same way. So he sits with that, with the weight of his own inaction, with the realization that he underestimated you. And here's the thing, he can't escape it. Because regret, once it settles in, isn't loud, it's quiet. It lives in the what ifs. And no matter how hard he tries to move forward, you become the one that got away. Not because you vanished, but because you evolved. And nothing haunts a man more than a woman who loved him deeply, then chose herself instead. There's a moment, quiet, powerful, when everything inside you clicks. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's just different. You stop obsessing. You stop checking your phone. You stop looking for signs from the universe, because something deeper has shifted. Your energy is no longer attached to proving your worth to someone who couldn't see it. That shift, that's where your power lives. Reclaiming your power isn't about being cold or emotionless. It's about moving from desperation to divine detachment. It's the moment you realize your value was never tied to his validation. It was always in you. You just forgot, because you gave too much of yourself away trying to be enough for someone who couldn't meet you there. Now, instead of asking, why didn't he choose me, you start asking, why did I shrink myself to be chosen? Your energy shift begins when you redirect your focus off of him and back onto you. When you stop wondering what he's thinking and start investing in how you feel, you protect your peace, you recenter your routine, you glow differently, not for him but for yourself. And here's the magic. The moment your energy shifts from seeking to sovereignty, people feel it, he feels it. He doesn't know exactly what changed, but something's different. You're not texting first. You're not explaining your silence. You're not reacting. You're responding with grace, with distance, with confidence. It confuses him. It bothers him, because now you're not emotionally available in the way he remembers. You're no longer predictable. You're magnetic in your mystery. That's what real power looks like. It's not in chasing closure or trying to make someone see your worth. It's in walking away so firmly rooted in your self-respect that you don't need to be seen. You already see yourself. This is where your boundaries become beautiful, where your standards no longer bend, where your love becomes selective, not because you're bitter, but because you've finally remembered your soul was never meant to beg. You're not punishing him. You're just not participating in cycles that drained you anymore. And yes, he'll notice. He'll wonder what happened. He'll try to figure out if someone new is in your life, if you're really over him, if you meant it when you pulled back. But none of that matters, because now your power isn't about how he sees you, it's about how you see yourself. When your energy shifts, everything changes. People either rise to meet you or fall away, and either way you win, because reclaiming your power was never about getting him back. It was about getting you back. And now that you have her again, don't ever lose her to someone who couldn't handle her. When you're in the process of reclaiming your power and stepping into your worth, it's easy to slip into patterns that feel strong, but are really just fear in disguise. And this is the part where many women unknowingly sabotage their own glow up by making these common mistakes that keep them emotionally tethered to the very person they're trying to release. The first mistake, breaking your silence too soon. He texts, he likes a post, he sends a cryptic "Hey stranger" message, and suddenly your heart skips and you think maybe, just maybe, he's changed. So you respond. But here's the truth. Consistency reveals intentions. One breadcrumb doesn't mean he's ready to step up. It often just means he's curious, not committed. Don't reward curiosity with access. Let actions, not emojis, prove where someone stands. The second mistake, stalking his social media. It's tempting. You want to see if he's miserable, if he's missing you, if there are any signs of regret. But all that does is keep your energy tied to him. You can't move forward while you're obsessively checking who he follows, what he posts, or what songs he's quoting in his captions. The moment you start monitoring him more than you're managing your own healing, you've already lost momentum. Another mistake, trying to make him jealous. Posting thirst traps, hanging out with his friends, or dropping subtle hints online that you've moved on, might feel empowering, but it's not. Because it's not really for you, it's for him. And any action you take for a reaction still keeps you trapped in the game. True power is silent. It doesn't need proof or performance. It just is. Then there's the classic, over-explaining your worth. You finally get a text. He comes back around, and instead of holding your ground, you feel the urge to lay it all out. Why you pulled away, how much you cared, how hurt you were. But let me be clear. If someone didn't see your value when you were showing up fully, explaining it won't suddenly open their eyes. Words don't create clarity, distance does. Stop begging to be understood by someone who wasn't listening when you were speaking your truth the first time. Lastly, and this is the most important, don't pause your growth, waiting for his return. Maybe deep down, you're hoping your silence will spark change. Maybe you believe this distance is just temporary. But don't use your healing as a strategy to get him back. Use it as the opportunity to get yourself back. Because when you live in a place of he might come around, you're still putting your life on hold. That's not power. That's limbo. And you don't belong there. The biggest mistake isn't losing him. It's losing yourself trying to keep him. So take the lessons. Keep the boundaries. And remember, real queens don't chase, compete, or beg. They rise, they evolve, and they attract what's aligned. He always comes back. Maybe not when you expect it, maybe not with the apology you deserve, but when the silence becomes too loud and your absence too undeniable, he reaches out. He might test the waters with a casual text. He might call and act like nothing happened. He might even say he's been thinking about you. But here's the moment where you need to pause, breathe, and not get swept up in emotion. Because how you respond now is everything. You've done the work, you've pulled back, you've rebuilt your self-worth. So when he comes back, the first thing to remember is this. You are not the same woman he walked away from. Don't shrink yourself back into the version of you who begged for breadcrumbs. Instead of rushing to reply or meet up, take your time. You're not being cold, you're being clear. Ask yourself, what is he really bringing to the table now? Has anything actually changed? Or is he just uncomfortable with the fact that you're no longer waiting? Men often return when they feel your energy is no longer available to them. But attention isn't the same as intention. Don't confuse a moment of missing you with a commitment to actually keep you. Watch his consistency. See if his words align with effort. Don't fall for emotional performances. Look for practical change. Has he acknowledged how he hurt you? Is he willing to do the work? Or is he hoping you'll just pick up where things left off? You don't need to be bitter or cold. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can hear him out and still decide not to let him back in. And if part of you still loves him, that's okay. But loving someone doesn't mean they're right for the next chapter of your life. Sometimes a man comes back just to confirm that the door is still open. And sometimes your greatest power is keeping it closed. If you do choose to give him another chance, do it from a place of strength, not loneliness. Don't hand your heart over just because he came back. See if he's willing to earn it this time. And if you feel that pit in your stomach, that quiet voice that says, don't go back to what broke you, listen to it. That's your intuition. That's your healing speaking louder than your hope. You don't need closure when you've found peace. You don't need validation when you've found yourself. And you certainly don't need to revisit the past when the future looks this good on you. So what should you do when he comes back? You decide, not based on fear or fantasy or missing what once was. You decide based on the woman you've become, the one who no longer begs to be chosen, because she's already chosen herself. Let him wonder. Let him sit with the silence you once filled with effort, emotion, and unconditional love. Let him feel the absence of the version of you who showed up without hesitation, who texted first, forgave quickly, and waited patiently. Because now, you're not her anymore, and that's not a loss. That's a transformation. The most powerful thing you can do is not chase clarity from someone who gave you confusion. Letting him wonder isn't about playing games. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you no longer need to explain it to someone who didn't see it the first time. He may wonder why you stopped reaching out. He may wonder if you still care. He may wonder if someone else took your place. Good, let him. Because while he's busy wondering, you're winning quietly, gracefully, powerfully. You're glowing differently now, not because you're pretending to be over it, but because you've done the inner work. You stopped making him the center of your story and instead became the main character in your own. You've turned your pain into purpose, your silence into strength, and your distance into a boundary, not a punishment. Every time he wonders if you still think about him, he's really asking if he still has a place in your life. And the answer doesn't need to come from your mouth. It's in your peace. It's in your glow up. It's in the way you no longer orbit around his inconsistency. Here's what most women don't realize. You don't need closure. You don't need the I'm sorry. You don't need to prove anything. Your elevation is the message. Letting him wonder isn't about revenge. It's about relief. You're letting go of who you had to be to hold on to someone who didn't know how to value you. You're no longer watering a connection that drained your soul. That's growth. That's grace. That's your win. And maybe, just maybe, he'll realize too late that the woman he took for granted was the woman who would have moved mountains for him. But that version of you, she's gone. In her place stands a woman who doesn't chase love. She attracts it. A woman who doesn't plead to be chosen. She chooses herself. So don't look back. Don't reopen old doors that nearly cost you your peace. Let him sit in the uncertainty he created. Let him watch from the sidelines while you evolve into everything he didn't know how to hold. Because real revenge isn't being cold. It's being unavailable. Emotionally, energetically, spiritually, it's showing the world what happens when a woman stops breaking herself to fit into someone else's version of love and finally becomes whole on her own. So let him wonder, and while he's caught in the what ifs, you'll be out there living the life he didn't know how to build with you. Unbothered, undeniable, unstoppable. There's nothing louder than a woman's glow up. Not her words, not her anger, not even her goodbye. What shakes a man most is your evolution, the shift in your energy, the unapologetic rise of a woman who no longer looks back. At first he doesn't notice it. He's used to the idea of you being there. He assumes your love was endless. He thought you'd always be reachable, emotionally, physically, energetically. But then something changes. You stop texting. You stop showing up in ways he took for granted. You stop chasing the potential you once saw in him. And that silence, that space, that's your glow up, taking shape. It's not just your outer beauty though that will turn heads. It's the way you speak now, the peace in your presence, the new boundaries that don't shake when someone tests them. It's your energy that says, I know who I am now and I don't entertain confusion. He sees it, even if he doesn't say it. He notices how you've become unreachable, not because you're hiding, but because you're healing. Because you stopped waiting for him to value you and started valuing yourself. He might not admit it out loud, but his ego feels it. You've become a mirror, and in that reflection, he sees the version of himself that couldn't keep a woman like you. He sees what he mishandled, what he underestimated, and what he'll never get back, unless he changes from the inside out. Not just to win you back, but to deserve you. Your glow up isn't about revenge. It's not about getting back at him or proving a point. It's about alignment. You're becoming the woman who no longer accepts half effort, mixed signals, or potential dressed up as love. You require more now because you are more now, and that evolution, that's his wake-up call. Because while he was comfortable, you were becoming. While he was silent, you were healing. And while he was wondering if you'd ever move on, you did, with grace, with power, with purpose. Now he watches you from a distance, maybe through social media, maybe through mutual friends, or maybe just in his own memories, and he realizes the door he thought would always be open has quietly closed. The version of you he once knew no longer exists, and that's the consequence of not showing up when love was given freely. So let your glow up speak for itself. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to flaunt it. Real growth is felt, not flaunted. It's in the way you walk, the way you smile, the way you no longer chase anything that costs your peace. Your glow up is his wake-up call. But don't dim it for anyone who once made you feel too much, too emotional, or not enough. Shine brighter, rise higher, and never apologize for the woman you've become, because she is the prize.